Hello Sewing Chicks, it's Vanessa. This video shows how to sew a placemat with pleats and how to create the ripple effect as shown here. Read the About section below for fabric suggestions and cutting instructions.
Okay, so I have my piece of fabric with the 15-inch side facing me. I'm going to take one of the side panels and pin them right sides together. We're going to do this to the other side as well. So take your panel and pin it to the other side of the middle piece of fabric. Okay, so I'm going to sew with a dark thread just so that you can see what I'm doing. But normally you want to use a thread that's closer to the color of your fabric. So I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam where we have pinned the two pieces together. Okay, and for my machine, a 1/4 inch seam is the edge of my presser foot here on the edge of my fabric. Okay, so you want to go ahead and do that to the other side of your fabric as well. So here's the placemat with the two side panels sewn, and we're going to turn it over and we're going to press the seams open. I kind of use my fingers to open the seams a little bit, and then I press them open with the iron. You want to be sure to press those as flat as possible, and do this on both sides. So now I have the placemat on its side, and I have the one of the side panels where the edge is on my cutting board, and I'm about to draw lines for the pleats. So I start at the 1-inch line, and I take my ruler, put it on the 1-inch line, and draw the line all the way across. So you're going to keep doing this 1 inch apart. You're going to draw 3 lines, 3 more lines, 1 inch apart on each line. So do this on one side of the panel, and then turn the panel over, or excuse me, to the other side, and just do it on the other panel as well. So here's a close-up of your lines. You should have 4 lines on each side. Don't worry that on this bottom line you won't have an inch between this 4th line and your seam here, but the 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, and 3rd and 4th, there should be 1 inches in between those. So one thing, when you fold the pleat toward you, be sure that this pleat measures a 1/4 inch. So just take your measuring tape or ruler or whatever, and just make sure the pleat measures a 1/4 inch. That's really important when we start to sew these down. So I want to show you very quickly what the pleats look like that I've sewn on one side. And just notice they're not perfect, and that's okay. Really, it's the uniqueness of the design that kind of gives it, its look. So don't worry about your pleats being perfectly even, straight, or even, consistent, because it's how it's going to look when you put in the ripple effect, and it's going to give it its own unique look. So now let me show you how to do the pleats. So I'm going to remove my pin here so we can sew close to the edge of the fold. The outside edge of the fold is aligned with the inside edge of my presser foot, because I want to sew about an 1/8 inch seam. It might be helpful to hold that fold as you sew. And remove the pins as you go along. Okay, so this is basically a first pleat here, and you're gonna just continue making those pleat as I've shown before, and continue sewing the same way until you get all 8 pleats sewn. So we're back at the cutting board, and we're going to lay the placemat vertically on the cutting board, and this time we're going to draw vertical lines 3 inches apart to make the ripples. So I started in at 3 inches, and then every 3 inches you should draw a vertical line. And you're going to end up with a total of 4 vertical lines. So to make the ripple effect, you're going to sew on this vertical line, but in the opposite directions of the way the pleats run so that they will stand up. So here's the pleated top with the ripple effect, and you can now iron over your fabric mark lines while pressing up on the pleats. Now you're going to be ready to cut your backing piece, and what you can do is just measure your front piece, the sides, one of the sides and the bottom, so you'll know how much to cut for your back piece, or you can use it as a template and put your back piece underneath, and simply cut with your ruler and your rotary cutter. Now you're going to place your back piece on top of your front piece, right sides together, because now we're going to sew all the sides together. But you're going to leave about a 4-inch opening either at the bottom or the top of the placemat. So I simply just made a marking here and here, just to remind myself that I need to leave this opening. And so I'm going to sew from here all the way around back to this end, and then just leave that opening so that I can turn this out. So you can go ahead and just pin it to hold everything in place. And then you're going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. So after you've sewn all 4 sides, you want to cut the corners, but be careful not to cut your seam. This is just to remove that bulk from the corners. And then you turn your placemat inside out. So now you just want to press your placemat down, and once you have it pressed, you want to go ahead and either you can hand slip stitch the opening closed, or you can machine sew across the top and across the bottom with the top stitch to complete the placemat, and then you are done. If you decide you want to machine stitch the openings closed, just simply sew an 1/8 of an inch seam from the top of the middle piece to the bottom of the middle piece. So you'll just in here before you get to the pleats, and do the same on the other side of the placemat, and then you're done. Just simply press the placemat after you're done.